I've just downloaded and updated to full self-driving beta 10.5.1. There was 10.5 released to some early access people, specifically Tesla employees yesterday. This is a point release. It's 2021.36.8.8. There are a number of things listed in the release notes. I'll throw those up on the screen so you can check them out. What I want to do here is do my normal test that I did this last time. It's a dense urban area, residential, and we're going to see how it handles this route that I've tested before. All right, we're enabled. Let's go ahead and get this going. Now, normally I do this route in the daytime, but it's 5:30, it's in Colorado, and it's already dark out. So let's see how this goes. Normally on this first turn, what I've noticed is that it creeps insanely slowly, so we'll see if that's improved. Still really slow to get around this corner. It creeps all the way out into the intersection before deciding to go. Not much improvement there. Now, this next intersection is a left-hand turn. It looks like there's a car blocking the way, so we'll see how that's handled. It still does not detect the construction equipment over there on the right. And typically what it ends up doing is going really far out into the intersection before deciding again to make the left-hand turn. There's a car coming and, oh, that was much better. Normally this one's kind of handled like that other right-hand corner where it goes way out into the intersection before finally making a decision to go. That was significantly better right there. And these next couple blocks are just straight. I don't expect to see anything major here. I do notice that it appears that the curbs or the sides, the edges of the road are far more stable than they were in other releases. It did mention that in the release notes, that they've done some updates to the neural net to actually predict those edges a little bit better. And I do notice that they're not as shaky as they appeared to be with previous builds. That might be the result of that. All right, we're coming up on a four-way stop and we're gonna turn right here. There are some pedestrians in the road. The car has identified them. And we're turning right. Now there's a driver in the middle of the road. I disengaged there. I think the car would have handled that fine, but I always keep my hands on the controls, and if the car does seem to make a sudden move any direction, I typically disengage. It's contrary to what people say online, it is extremely easy to disengage autopilot. Just applying very minimal force in any direction will completely take over the controls. So this was a problematic intersection before. There's typically cross traffic going left to right here, and the car would have to creep out pretty significant into the intersection in order to gain visibility. There are cars on the left. Still not a fan of how that was handled. Going around a dumpster, no problem. So here's my issue with how that intersection was handled. The car creeps really far out before it makes the decision to actually apply the accelerator and go. By that time, I'm already halfway through the intersection, and if there were a car there, it puts me in kind of a precarious situation. So, not a huge fan of how that was handled. All right, let's have this route us back and see how it does on the way back. definitely much smoother on those right-hand turns, and I don't feel like it's going as far in towards the curb as it does in previous builds. We're going to make a left-hand turn. We're creeping for visibility. Everything is clear. Are you going to go? I do not like how long it waits there. It seems to get halfway into the intersection again before it decides if it's going to go or not. And by that time, you'd already be in trouble if one of those cars was approaching quickly. I'm going to go ahead and report that. Another right-hand turn here. Let's see how this handles. Ooh, almost a complete stop. That was not smooth at all. That could have been dangerous because there was a car right behind me and the car just kind of abruptly stopped as it was coming into the right. It was kind of unsure how far in it should go. And I think it was waiting to check visibility to see if there were any oncoming cars before it swerved out behind the traffic. Or I shouldn't say the traffic, but rather the parked cars on the side of the road. Navigating this little construction area quite well. I don't know that it sees this construction barrier in front of us. No, it did swerve around it. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take over. So overall, not too bad. It does have some improvements. So like I said, the visualization does seem far more stable, especially things like the curbs. It did handle a couple of the right-hand turns much better than it did in previous builds. It still has some hesitations. When it's coming into a left-hand turn, it creeps out far too slowly. It does actually go a little bit better than it did before, but it still creeps out far too far and too slowly for my liking. Now, during the daytime tomorrow, I'm going to take this on a few more test drives around town through the city. But those are kind of my initial observations. There are definitely some improvements, but we're not quite there yet on some of this stuff. And with that being said, it is still amazing that my car can even do any of this stuff that it's doing right now. Overall, you're definitely seeing some improvements, and a big shout out to the Autopilot team for working tirelessly, bringing us this self-driving technology. I think it's going to be game-changing when it finally comes to fruition. So thank you all. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the like so the algorithm knows that you like my content. And otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks.